Hello outsiders, it's Justice Pariah here. Never in my life did I think I'd be reviewing a video from this guy, but here we are. Fun fact, by the way, if you guys have noticed, the reason I never grow a beard is because, well, one time I tried to grow it out and I just ended up looking like a younger version of Matt Walsh, so that was an indication that I should never ever do that again. But I digress. Now, I don't care about Matt Walsh's political opinions or anything like that. I believe that people have a right to believe what they want. In fact, regarding what we're about to talk about today, he made a video regarding Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Now, I recently made a review of it, go watch it if you want to, and I enjoyed it. I think it's the best one in the trilogy, and obviously I have a giant bias to it. But despite the fact that I have a bias to it, I believe that people can have different opinions and still get along. If he doesn't like this movie, then for whatever reason, I can respect it, as long as he can respect the opinions of others. That being said, I've heard that some of his opinions in this video, which I have not seen yet, are, well, let's just say, uneducated. So, for the sake of fairness, I'm going to review his video now, stopping along the way to make my own commentary on the matter. So, with that said, let's get into it.
When a man becomes a father, he's called upon to make sacrifices for his family. And often these will be small sacrifices. Sometimes they'll be larger, though, more significant. And on even rarer occasion, the duties of fatherhood will require him to make the kind of sacrifice that, up to that moment, he would have thought himself incapable of making. These are the moments when a man must become a hero, when he must lay his very life on the line. And this may take many forms. Perhaps he's rushing into a burning building to rescue his child from the fire. Perhaps he has to pull his loved one away from the path of a speeding train because they've been tied to the tracks by bandits or whatever. Or most harrowing of all, he may be compelled by his paternal obligations to go to a movie theater and watch Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
I understand where he's starting this entire thing. In any other context, that'd be good. There are times where, as a parent, you have to make sacrifices. However, even as a fan of this movie, to equate having to save a loved one to take them to go see a movie in the movie theater, are you serious, man? I don't care if the movie is the best movie ever made, which, as much as I love Sonic 3, that is not what it is. Why on earth would you equate these things?
That situation would, of course, much prefer to be engulfed in flames or hit by a speeding train, but that would be the coward's way out. He endures Sonic the Hedgehog 3 for the sake of his children, whom he loves.
Okay, so obviously he admits he wasn't the biggest fan of the movie, but suffered through it for his children. And you know what? That's fair. I can understand that. He didn't like the movie. That's fair. He has the right to that. And, well, while I haven't been in the shoes of the parent circle, I do have nieces and nephews, and there are times where I've had to watch TV shows or movies with them that I don't particularly enjoy, but hey, they're the children, and it is to make them happy, and I can understand that. I'm still not understanding how this relates to what he started the video with, but we shall continue.
Now, for the record, I'll say I greatly enjoyed most of the time that I spent with my wife and kids these past 2 weeks. We had a lot of fun together. We played football, we played outside, we shot BB guns, we played card games and board games. I completely wrecked my whole family in Monopoly 2 nights in a row.
Okay, so sure, that works, but everything else doesn't. Okay. I'm being a little facetious here, but obviously it's just funny to me how he goes from, hey, I didn't enjoy this movie, but I did enjoy time with family. And granted, you should enjoy time with family, but like the things he's describing, oh, we were outside, shot guns. It's like, okay, we get it.
Wasn't even close. We took the kids ice skating. I was ice skating. My wife and kids were left dumbstruck by my gracefulness and elegance on the ice. They didn't say that, but I know they were.
He's talking a lot about himself right now.
These were all wonderful experiences, yet things took a rather distressing turn on the final Thursday of the break when my 8-year-old son and 5-year-old daughter asked me to take them to go see Sonic the Hedgehog 3. And I hesitate to call a film. I must first acknowledge, in all fairness, I never saw Sonic the Hedgehog 1 or Sonic the Hedgehog 2. It's possible that one cannot fully appreciate the narrative complexities of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 without having seen the first 2 chapters in this epic Hedgehog saga. Maybe the other 2 movies are works of staggering artistic genius that would elevate the 3rd installment and lend it the sort of context necessary for me to have appreciated it and enjoyed it, instead of feeling like I was being waterboarded with high fructose corn syrup the whole time.
Waterboarded with high fructose corn syrup. Okay, well, ignoring that joke, now, he does admit that he hasn't seen the first 2, and while I don't think that should really affect your opinion on the 3rd, except for maybe the fact that you've gotten more experience with some of the characters who don't shine as heavily in the 3rd one, though granted, they still have their moments, but maybe not shine as brightly, or you don't understand who they are without seeing the first 2. I can respect that. Although, I need to see more of this, because what on earth happened in this movie to make you feel like you were being waterboarded? I'm a grown man. I enjoyed it. Yeah, there were some moments that were a little goofy, but it's a good time as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, that's my opinion, not his, so let's see what he has to say.
Kind of movie where Jim Carrey plays 2 characters. One is the evil villain, and the other is the evil villain's evil grandfather in old age makeup. And the 2 break into an impromptu dance routine that makes no narrative sense but lasts approximately 87 minutes. It's the kind of movie where those same characters...
Okay, first of all, it's not 87 minutes. It's literally a short little scene. And second, I can understand if, narrative-wise, he did not enjoy the laser dance show. Now, personally, they did set it up with the younger Jim Carrey, Robotnik, for those of you who have actually seen the movie. He sets it up by making a specific suit that the lasers bounce off of. And yeah, they didn't have to do a dance number. In fact, as I touched upon in my last video, it was completely added in by Jim Carrey himself. And maybe you don't like Jim Carrey, which, for whatever reason, fair enough, you have the right to your opinion. But I think if you think about it for more than 5 seconds, you understand, oh, okay, this is a vault heist. They need to do something to make it more interesting. And also, it's a kid's movie. They need to do something that's entertaining.
I'm not going to bother explaining the plot of this film in any detail. I wasn't tracking it that closely, to be honest. I was mostly fighting to stay awake. This is the kind of movie that bores you to the point of putting you to sleep, but also annoys you at the same time. It's kind of an odd combination to be both sleepy and deeply irritated simultaneously.
Didn't you just say you have children? How do you not know what that experience is like? No, but to say that he admits that he wasn't paying attention to anything that was happening in this movie. First of all, in order to make a good critique of a movie, you have to at least pay attention to it. You have to pay attention to, or at the very least give it enough attention where if you had a bad experience, you can explain why. If you say, oh, I wasn't paying attention, or I slept through the whole thing, you could maybe make an argument that, okay, this movie is so boring that it caused you to go to sleep. This is the same reason why I don't really respect a High Tops Films review of No Way Home, because he admits in the video that he went to go see it drunk, which means he impaired his judgment. So that's not something you should do. Now, I understand if as a parent, if you weren't interested in going to see this movie, that you maybe won't pay attention. You understand, okay, You kids can watch it. I'll be on my phone. That happened in my theater. There were parents who were on their phones the entire time just to let their kids watch the movie. Perfectly reasonable why they would do something like that. But if your job is to be a film reviewer, or a reviewer in general, a journalist, and you are not paying attention to the details to give a correct assessment, then I am sorry, Mr. Walsh, but you are failing at your job.
I can only tell you that Sonic is the good hedgehog, which you may know. There's also an evil hedgehog voiced by Keanu Reeves, who, and I like Keanu Reeves, by the way, but like every other voice actor in this film and most voice actors in most children's films that have been made for the past 20 years, he has no talent as a voice actor and doesn't understand how to act with just your voice. But he's...
I understand, like, when Keanu was first announced, I think a lot of us were concerned with how it was going to sound. And then we heard the initial trailers and we thought, oh, okay, this is good. Now, don't get me wrong. He was definitely phoning it in the game DLC. And surprisingly, something I actually find a bit funny about this is that he accidentally, because there's no way he's a fan, he accidentally made the good hedgehog versus evil hedgehog analogy, which is actually really funny. Like, I'll admit, that is probably the one thing in this entire video that actually puts a smile on my face, because how on earth?
He's famous, so that's good enough, I suppose. So Sonic has to stop the evil hedgehog and his evil cohorts, the Jim Carrey dancing duo I mentioned earlier, from blowing up the world with a big laser. And, you know, this has been the evil plan of every evil villain in every blockbuster franchise film for the past 3 decades. It's a formula that this movie is not interested in deviating from. This is not the sort of movie that deviates from formulas. Now, if you're wondering...
Not the sort of movie that deviates from formulas. Okay, so the giant laser in the sky thing, and that's the thing that they have to stop. Technically, although that really only comes into play later, of course anyone who's played the games knew that this was going to happen, is a nod to the games. But if you don't know the lore of these characters, I can understand how you might see that. But, and this might be just because he didn't pay attention, this movie is much more than, oh, we have to stop these guys from shooting a giant laser. It is a story about making the right choices despite what happens to you. This is why Shadow is so compelling in this movie, is because he has made wrong choices in the name of what he believes to be correct. I guess if you strip away everything that, you know, isn't the big thing at the end of the movie, sure, that's what this movie is. Just take all the character and heart away from it.
Why the evil hedgehog and the 2 Jim Carreys want to explode the world and murder 8 billion people in a cosmic blast that they will also die in, it's because the older Jim Carrey's granddaughter, I think, was killed.
You think?
And now he wants to commit murder-suicide because life isn't worth living.
Let's talk for a second about the bleakness, if you will, about Jim Carrey as Dr. Gerald Robotnik. Now, yes, to an extent, you could make an argument that just because one died doesn't mean you need to go in this path. But, and again, this could just be because he didn't pay attention, it wasn't just the fact that she died, it's the fact that she died in the one place she was supposed to be protected. He was working with people. He had agreements with them. She died. He lost all trust and realized that there are just some people you can't trust. And it's heartbreaking. If you lose a loved one, you know what it's like, how your emotions can, well, they're uncontrollable. And this can lead you to making some choices that aren't, shall we say, savory or correct.
It is just the product of a corporate algorithm. It is loud and ugly and obnoxious and disjointed. because nobody
Oh, you want to talk about ugly? Mr. Walsh, you should have seen the first trailer.
who made the film actually cared about making a good film. And they have absolutely no respect for their audience. I mean, this movie could have been made by AI. We are at a point.
Oh, okay, now I get to go in. This movie wasn't made for an audience. It had no audience in mind, doesn't care for its audience, huh? There are millions of devoted fans to this franchise. They showed us the worst looking version of Sonic back in 2019, and the internet collectively sighed so hard that they bent over backwards just to please us. If it wasn't for the fans and showing that we want this to be good, these films, we never would have even gotten a second one, let alone a third. And the reason we're even hyped up for a fourth one is because they listen to us. They keep giving us what we want. So no, Mr. Walsh, they knew who their audience was. And as their audience, they did a fantastic job.
If they start making movies with AI, we would not know the difference because they've effectively been doing that for 20 years now. Now, you might respond here, as many people on Twitter did after I gave a very brief review of this film in a tweet on the site a few days ago. You might respond that, well, this movie isn't for me. It's for kids. Well, first of all, tell that to the other people in the theater with us. I can tell you that my kids were by far the youngest people in attendance. There were multiple groups of adults, just adults, no kids, whole groups of them who bought tickets to Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Also, tell it to the multiple grown adults who got angry at me on Twitter for not liking the movie. The funny thing is that a lot of those same people say, well, it's not for you, it's for kids. Why are you getting so upset about it then? Why are you tearfully defending a movie that you claim is not for you either?
Even if it is true that grown people were getting upset with him saying, well, it's not for you, it's for kids, which I too hate that argument. I can't believe I'm taking his side on something, but there you are. But ignoring that for a second, I was not in his theater, not by far, but I was one of those adults who went to see it because I love this brand. But, if people actually are hating him just for his opinion on a movie, guys, I know it's popular to hate Matt Walsh for some of his more controversial opinions. But he has the right to dislike a movie if he wants to. I said that at the beginning of this video, and I will stand by it. Or sit by it, I guess. But the point of the matter is, the reason I'm making this video isn't because he and I disagree about the movie. I don't care if he doesn't like it. He has the right to. The reason I'm making this video is because the points he is making to support his argument are just infallible, his arguments are fallible and factually wrong.
My negative comments had upset, and I'm repeating this phrase verbatim, had upset the, quote, Sonic community. Now, those are not kids who identify themselves as members of the Sonic community. My 8-year-old loves Sonic, but he's not on Twitter furiously defending the Sonic community from its detractors. So I agree that these kinds of movies are for kids, but I am not the one who needs to be told that, okay?
Obviously, I can't just ignore that, can I? Okay, so yes, the Sonic community, despite the fact that all of these games are family-friendly, it's a game about a cartoon hedgehog for crying out loud, does have a lot of adults like myself who still love it to this very day. Whole Sonic community, yes, grown people who like Sonic. They can like whatever they want. People can like or dislike whatever they want. They have the right to do that. But I will say this regarding the Sonic community. I consider myself a fan of Sonic, but I don't really consider myself a member of the Sonic community. Or at the very least, I don't consider myself a member of the Sonic community that's like constantly on Twitter or any place like that. Because, yeah, this fan base can be quite toxic at times. And if he was targeted by the toxic group of Sonic fans, then yeah, that's fine. Now, I imagine most of the people targeting him for this video are people like myself who are just like, dude, you just didn't pay attention.
Really, my only point here. It is possible to make a children's movie that, although it's for children, is still a good, high-quality piece of art.
Yes, I agree. There are many examples.
I don't hate children's movies just because they're for children. Quite the opposite. As a father of 6, I've watched many, many children's movies. Okay, I've watched way more than the average person because I have so many kids. And I greatly appreciate the good ones. A few nights ago, just as an example, we watched the movie Iron Giant with my kids, and that's an animated children's film. It's also well written, beautifully.
Yeah, complete side note here, but I will agree with him on that. Iron Giant is a fantastic movie all across the board. Completely off topic, but I mean, if he's going to talk about it, I might as well say something here.
Illustrated, brilliantly performed, tonally consistent. It's funny and heartwarming, and at points it's sad, but it works all of that in a way that feels natural to the story. It's a children's film, and it's also a great film, one that I can watch and also enjoy. Because as it turns out, children's movies are not just for children. They're for parents too.
Yes,
or at least correct. They should be. Okay, if a kid's movie or kid's show is so grating and so dumb and so unpleasant that parents can't stand to be in the same room while it's on, that doesn't mean it's for kids. It isn't for kids. It isn't for anyone. It's just bad. And the fact that people say, well, of course it's bad. It's for kids.
It's funny because he's making this assessment that is true, that kids' movies are more than just for kids. In fact, they can be for adults too if you actually put heart and care into it. That's why I've always hated the, oh, it's for kids argument, as I said earlier. But I think the problem here is that he's being very objective about this movie. He's like trying to make himself the authority and saying, oh, the only people who would enjoy Sonic the Hedgehog 3 are children. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure in order to be a critic, you have to be an adult. It has to be your job. This is what critics decide, Mr. Walsh. And the audience is usually made of people like myself who are adults. Now, I'm not going to say that my opinion is fact either. My opinion is my opinion, and I will enjoy what I enjoy, and I will not enjoy what doesn't interest me. As will you. But you're acting like just because you had a bad experience with a movie, everyone else has to. Which, ironically, is one of the most childish things you can do.
I think content produced for kids should especially be high quality and should especially have artistic merit, which is why I hated Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and why it is today, I must say, sadly, canceled. Hey, YouTube, thanks.
Oh, crap. I didn't mean to do that. Did you really just say canceled? I'm done with that word. Okay, coming back to the computer real quick, I want to take a look at some of the comments. Not all of them, obviously, as I want to make sure I can still... Oh, that right there should tell you anything. 2.6 thousand likes, 11,000 dislikes. I'm not going to dislike it because that just seems a little hate-spirited, but let's just look at what some of the comments are saying. I wasn't paying attention to the movie, so why are you complaining about it? You know what? Thank you, Joe Eorio9654. Exactly. You're not doing, as I said earlier, he's not doing his job, and that's what he's saying. I wasn't paying attention to the movie, so you made this video for nothing. Thank you, Jordan Patron 212. I'm gonna shout out their username so to make sure I give credit where credit's due. So just real quick, let's go over this again. He didn't pay attention to the film, was trying to be very objective with his subjective opinion, said that this movie had no audience or didn't respect its audience. Matt Walsh is, at the very least, he's supposed to be a journalist. He works for the Daily Wire. Now, I don't follow the Daily Wire, I don't follow anything like that, because I know they're just surrounded in politics, and all politics do are divide people. I don't like dividing people, I like bringing people together. But honestly, when you say that you're not paying attention to a film, and I think those 3 comments we just saw summed it up perfectly, you didn't need to make a video on this. Like, if you didn't like the movie, all you could say is, it might be an unpopular opinion, but I didn't enjoy it. And you know what? That's fine. You have a right to that. I wouldn't have commented on that. I would have been, if I would have seen that while scrolling on my phone, I would have been like, oh, okay, I mean, I don't agree, but you have a right to your opinion. But trying to enforce that opinion as fact, and then also admitting that you paid no attention to this film and are actively belittling the people who do enjoy this movie, this quote-unquote Sonic community that you like to refer to as, it honestly just shows that, Matt, I believe that you can make good content. But if you're going to be a journalist, you gotta do your research. That'll be all for now, everybody. Hopefully I won't have to do a Matt Walsh video ever again. And honestly, I think it's time we take a break from some of this as well. I have a few more videos planned for next week, and then I think I'm gonna take a little bit of a break. At the very least from Sonic. Maybe I'll talk about that Spider-Man show that's supposed to be coming out soon. I don't know. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Please don't harass Matt Walsh. Like, just because he disagrees with us doesn't mean he's worthy of that. That's all for now. Thank you for watching. Have a God bless day, everyone.